Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours, with 10% off using code FD10. Follow the links in the description below. Hello and welcome to Furious Driving. It's another day when we're playing with the Rover P6 V8 with the 4.6 swap in it, and we're going to see what more niggles we can find with this car, because things are good but they're a long way from perfect and there's lots more to fix. We've got a few things missing out of the engine bay, we've got oil falling out of the engine bay, and well, really this week is another day of why won't the car start again, because currently it'll only start with a jump start pack on it and then it starts perfectly, but I don't know why, so we need to investigate that as well. So let's crack on and find out what's up with this car. There's always something up with this car. Anyway, there's no actual defined outcome to this video, it's just more pressing on, trying to make the car as good as possible, well, and then get the thing actually daily usable, which would be really rather nice, wouldn't it? Now, one thing that people keep on commenting on, asking about with this car is the carburettor situation, the intake, because this car came fitted with twin SUs from the factory on the 3.5 litre, and what I've done is I have reused the SUs that came with it on the original factory inlet manifold, and I am aware this is possibly the least good solution you can use on this engine. It's very, very strangling. The needles are wrong, they're not flowing enough air. Basically everything that is bad to be possible is bad in this situation. However, I do have the GEMS fuel injection setup that came with this car from the Range Rover, but you've got to spend over £1,000 on a fuel injection controller thing for it, and it's not necessarily the best one anyway. So I'm probably going to go for the good old school carburettor setup, like American type thing, hot rod. So Offenhauser, Edelbrock, low-rise inlet manifold, the big dual-plane carburettors that you know. So because this is a fairly temporary solution having this on here, I didn't want to again spend too much money on putting air filters on there, because that's going to cost a lot more money. And people were very concerned I was running no air filters at all, but you know, it's harvest season at the moment, there's not too much dust and stuff around. I don't want to use the original air filters on this. Let me show you the original air filter. This is as bad as it's possible to get when it comes to an air filter. This is the single intake point. That's absolutely nothing. And then also air likes to go in straight lines. This is in here, turns 90 degrees, turns 90 degrees, turns 90 degrees. It's doing like 3/4 of a full circle and then being sucked through a very inefficient old filter. So it is absolutely terrible. It's about as bad as you can make an air filter just there. Really going to suck some power out of the car. So being a cheapskate, not wanting to spend really any money at all, I've been onto Amazon and I have bought a pair of, as you can see on the engine already, a pair of the cheapest knockoff K&Ns money can buy. I think these cost something like £8.70 each. This is just ridiculous. They are called Universal, which means they fit nothing. In this case, they were just ever so slightly too large for the intakes of these carbs. So what I've done is I've gone and found an old radiator hose and I've cut this into a bit of a gasket to fit in there, and that does just about do the job. Let's go make another one. One half on there, this side just trimmed down a little bit shorter. So we've now got a nice little collar. If I can find a bigger bit of hose pipe that looks a bit nicer, I will adapt it further. Oh, there you go. That looks rather nice, don't you think? Let's see if we can start it up. Now, this car has developed a slight little issue where it doesn't seem to want to start up without a jump start pack on it. The battery was relatively new, not that long ago, so I might need to go and start checking earth connections. Let's have a quick try here. So make sure we're not in gear. That's reverse, that's neutral, nothing. Right, jump pack is hooked up, straight to life. I mean, the battery's died already. It's not very old, that battery. So I need to go and get a clothes peg for this. The infamous BL clothes peg. Feel the car rocking with each blip of the throttle. That's just crazy. So my investigations so far show that the earth was slightly loose on there. Tighten that up and the thread has gone on the positive, but it is wedged on pretty tight though. So let's see what we can do. Battery test, 11.86 volts. It's a little bit low. Right, this is a 650 cold crank amp one. Testing, let's see what it says. Health 5%, oh man. Charge and retest. Oh, okay, it's basically flat. I need to get a good charger on it. Maybe the alternator's not chucking enough oomph out. So I'm showing that the battery is actually a little bit flat. And considering I've been driving the car around, that might suggest that in fact that the alternator is not charging as well as it could. So let's go check the alternator. I'm out of clothes pegs. I'm having to improvise here. Right, so engine running, fast idle. Let's see what power we're getting off this thing. It's only showing 11.5. So I don't think well, I can see quite clearly from that that the alternator is not charging properly. Right, a quick battery health update on the old Yuasa in here. I've had it hooked up to this fairly hefty vintage charger for a bit because the little Aldi 12 quid one is apparently not very good at all. Back up to 48% health now, so it just kind of shows that not only was the alternator working, this cheap charger is absolute rubbish. I've got a load of really good Draper ones over in the barn, but those are all over in the barn. I should do a couple more over here, to be honest. We're going to do a couple of tests at the engine end to see what's coming out of the alternator. So we are getting 12 volts out of that with the engine running at idle, fast idle admittedly. Rising up to nearly 13 revs. It's a bit low, but it is something. I just quickly swapped out the pinch bolt on the positive terminal of this battery. It wouldn't tighten up before. This is why it wouldn't tighten up. I've never seen a bolt de-thread itself quite as extravagantly as that. That's why that wouldn't tighten up properly. Okay, so having now tested the alternator and seen it's only got 12 volts at idle and 13-ish, maybe 13 nearly, when it's revving, I do think the problem is really with the alternator, but I'm going to just do a couple other quick checks as well to make sure we are running at 100% in this system. As I was reversing the car out a second ago, I did start it and then check the battery in the back, and the power on the battery actually fell, and the power started at just like 12.06, went down to 11.95 while the car was running. But it's a little known fact that there is a weird little system, because P6 is going to P6 at you. There is a big power cable which runs all the way from the battery in the boot, but in order to get to the engine, it has to go through the bulkhead, and so there is this bolt just here which it connects up to, and this can be an issue. This bolt itself has furred up. I just stuck a test meter on it a second ago, and the power running through that with the ignition on was 11.95, whatever it was, exactly the same as the power at the battery, like 0.1 below I think it was. And you know how I know about that particular junction down there? Go on, ask me. It's because when I first got this car many moons ago, and it was still a blue 3.5 litre, I was driving it to work one Saturday, and I'd gotten as far as Canary Wharf in London when I noticed smoke coming out from under the dashboard. I pulled over, and it turned out that connection was kind of shorting out and making the back of the carpet smoulder. In fact, you can still see the circle that it burnt into the back of the carpet. Ignition on, I've got a good earth point, so I'm testing the power before the junction, and it's 11.83. Give that a scratch. Oh, 11.82 on the bolt, and then onto this one itself on the other side, 11.81. So basically, yeah, I'm not really losing any power through that connection. I thought maybe it'd be like a slightly furred up rusty bolt, but I'm not actually losing any power through the connection. So I don't think that is the problem just there. That kind of was my last kind of hope to avoid having to buy an alternator. That was the issue, but it looks like I need to go and buy a new alternator. Lucky me, maybe high output alternator this time, because obviously this engine is going to be sucking a bit more oomph than the old one was. Well, that is somewhat disappointing, because I was hoping to have a month where I wasn't dropping a ton of cash on this car, but hey, it is a gift that keeps on giving, but kind of, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. Something in reverse of that. Never mind. So we'll move on from that, and we'll look at this seatbelt, which had been working last time I drove the car many years ago. Now it's locked solid. I don't know why. So a quick look at taking this thing off and see if I can free it up and work out why it's latched itself. I think I will probably look at getting a new set of seatbelts for this. I mean, many years ago, when I was getting the white Rover 2000 retrimmed, I went to, I think it's Securon, and got an all-new set of inertia reel seatbelts. This is quite unusual, having inertia reels in 1973. They were quite an advanced car. These seats actually in the Series 2 have a cutout in the side, which makes room for the inertia reel, well, lumpy bit here on the B-post. The Series 1 cars are flat down the side in that point. So when I did the 2000, I got a set of black belts to go in the front, as it would have been, and a set of red belts to match the leather to go in the back, so they can sit there and look almost invisible. This car though, these are, I don't know if they're original or if they're added later on, but they look in good condition, but this one does not want to move, so, Now this old Britax design, it's actually got a weird nubbiny thing on the side there, so you have to undo this bolt here to free off a plasticky lumpy thing in the back, and then you can get to the big screw that holds it onto the side of the car. So now this thing is free. I can move this into a different position and it seems to move again. So this is the inertial lock-up thing. So maybe that had locked and then got stuck. Let's try and bolt it back in again. Right, hang on. That works again. So, hey, that was a freebie. No idea what the problem there was. One of those things, this car just sent to try me. Well, that is really rather annoying. The fact that the juice make it happen and no longer is making any juice happen does somewhat curtail our adventures today, because it means we can't do much else with this engine. We can't drive the car anywhere, not really, because I have been driving it, and it's just really just by sheer dumb luck that I've been getting there and back, and the fact it's got a really good battery in the boot that has got me there and back again. And many years ago, when I kind of recommissioned this kind of for one of the first times, I put a brand new battery and alternator onto it, and I was driving to Lincolnshire. I got as far as Cambridge and said the fateful words, well, it's going really well. Should we stop here at Cambridge services or keep going to Peterborough? And that sealed my fate, because at that point, everything went dark. Lights went out, the engine cut out, everything stopped. And after a lot of kerfufflage, it turned out that the alternator belt had come off at the bottom, and it had been running purely on the new battery all the way to Cambridge from Kent. Thankfully, a new UASA battery in the boot of this thing, it's been keeping it going far enough, and I've been topping it up because I've not been driving it that much, and the really, really rubbish little charger has been just enough to keep it running at almost 12 volts until finally it wasn't. In case you're wondering, this alternator belt is nicely tight. Fortunately, it's a very easy thing to change. It's a couple of wires, 3 bolts, and slip that over the end of that. It won't be difficult. Unfortunately, it's Sunday, so I'm not going to do anything about it today. So that's that for this particular little bit of adventure. Obviously, it would be lovely to keep on going and fit one today and show you the car running again, but I'm fairly 99.9% confident that that's going to be what the problem was. And anything else in this car at this point is going to be a bigger job that's going to take us to a far longer video than we've got time for today. So I'm going to wrap it up here, unfortunately. But we've got those lovely air filters on. They look really cool, don't they? And well, everything else is gradually going in roughly the right direction, but it's sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But we're getting there with this car, getting there slowly, soon, I promise you. We'll be on the road. This is why I didn't take this car to Rustable, because there was going to be something that wasn't working, and I didn't know what that thing was going to be, but there was going to be something. Maybe if that's all it is, then we can call that a win, because, well, at least the oil isn't even dripping much anymore. Ignore the big patch, that's earlier. These 2 little drips are all that dripped out of it last night after I ran the car for a while. So I think we're getting there. I think this car is almost ready to actually use as, not a daily driver, but this car is almost ready to be using as a regular in rotation, getting driven kind of car. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please, as always, hit like and subscribe. Head over to furiousdriving.co.uk. There are other fantastic mugs of this car, plus all the other cars on the fleet, and a bunch of other things that are really cool as well. And join me next time when, I don't know, the Mini, the MX-5, the other Mini, and the Crown Vic all need attention, as does the Mercedes and that garage. Hopefully a video with a better conclusion next time.